Hey guys, how you going? Now, unfortunately, I might have picked up a sore throat bug, which is a bit annoying. But what we are gonna do is I didn't have time to prep for some of the questions, but I'm just gonna pick up a few questions from 2014, I think. And I'll just put it all together and then we can kind of work through it, because I can't remember if I did 2014 or not. I checked my old resources and I couldn't find anything there, and I thought maybe I had done it before, but maybe not. So we're gonna do basically we are doing the 2014 paper, question 1 from 2014 paper, and then after that we are going to pretty much call it. So let me just stack up all the questions first. I got about 6-7 questions today, so it's not too long. BCD3, 6 questions. Okay, 6 questions. I need my answer schedule for that. Got it. Let's get rid of the straight lines and then we should be good to go. My sound is working, right? Because I kind of... All right, we're gonna do these 3 questions first, guys, and oh man. Yeah, so we'll do these 3 questions first. I think I'll give you guys maybe, let's see, 8:03 is it the time? 8:03. So 8:05 I'll actually go through the answer. Hey Talia, you're joining us for level 2. Hi, M-Dog. Hi, everyone. Sorry, I've just been a bit off because just my throat's been killing me. I think I talk too much at school and then talk too much in the night time. Now you're fine. You'll pick up a few things. You might actually pick up a few things that's actually useful for you for your MCAT. Definitely up to part 3 anyway. But anything after that can get a bit kind of weird. So guys, after we do the 2014 paper, what I will do is I'll need some time, like during the daytime at some point, to come up with parallel questions. I'll come up with parallel questions, but I try to do a parallel one for like 2020 onwards, and some of the questions are just like crazy, even for ChatGPT to try and kind of replicate some of those questions. It was a bit annoying, but anyway, we'll get started with these questions here. So these are like a couple of nice easy questions to start with. We're not gonna I think we might breeze through it, but anyway, we'll kind of go through it anyway, so we'll see how it goes. So question 1, what we've got is whenever they say things like they want you to simplify, generally speaking they want to have it without negative power. So you actually want to get rid of the negative power. So if we look at part A1, and one of the easiest things that you guys can do with swapping a negative power is basically just flip the fraction upside down. And if you do that, you can actually change the power. So in this case, I'm going to rewrite this as a to the power of 4 over 5 to the power of positive 3. All right. Now, also remember that 5 has a power of 1, which means we're going to get a to the power of 4 times 3 and 5 to the power of 1 times 3. In the numerator, we're going to get a to the power of 12. In the denominator, we're going to get 5 to the power of 3. Because they actually say to simplify, I actually would put 5 to the power of 12 in the calculator. And when I do that, I should get 125. So 5 to the power of 3, and that's going to give me 125. Any questions with that? Well, I quickly have a look at the chat. What school do I teach? Ormiston Junior College. Yes, it's a school. Some school in Auckland. King, I'm not doing calculus today. I'm just going to do 2014 exam paper question 1. That's pretty much all I'm doing today. This is a marathon, man. These live streams I can't do. I think I made a mistake last week when I did that 2-hour integration stream for level 3. That just stuffed me up. Okay, so question 2 or part 2 of A. When we do to the power of half, remember that it's actually square root, but it doesn't matter because remember that 0.25 actually has a power of 1. So when we do powers of powers, this is going to be 0.25 to the power of 1 times a half, x to the power of 3 times half. So we're going to get 0.25 to the power of a half, x to the power of 3 over 2. Now, I'm going to do this in the calculator, right? 0.25 to the power of half. A very kind of common mistake people do is they actually forget the brackets around the half. So if you actually say, for example, you do this, 0.25 to the power of 1 over 2, people tend to do this without the brackets. Now, if you do it without the brackets, this is actually incorrect, because what you're supposed to do is 0.25 to the power of half is the same thing as saying, but you got to put that bracket in there. But when you put that bracket in there, you actually get the correct answer. And this is really, really important if you guys are putting fractions as powers. If you have fractions as powers, make sure you put those fractions in a bracket. So notice how you're getting like 2 completely different answers. All right, but putting the brackets is the correct way. So we're going to go to 0.5 and then x to the power of 3 over 2. You can't really do anything with that. So we're just going to leave that as x to the power of 3 over 2. Just in terms of grades, guys, I forgot to mention that these are all achieved questions. So this is an achieved question and this is an achieved question as well. Is that Yultan, Sultan, whichever it is? Yes, you can actually do square root as well. If you're confident doing that, you can actually put that as square. Do we always have to put a bracket whenever we do powers? Samia, I think when you do powers, if the powers is a bracket, a fraction, I would highly recommend it. But there's nothing wrong with you getting into the habit of putting powers in brackets. It's still gonna end up being the same, but it's much more important when you're doing it with fractions. All right, if there's no other concerns, we can go to part 3 of this question. Cool. So part 3 of this question, what we've got is we've actually got to sort out the numerator first. Once we sort out the numerator, then we've got to sort out the denominator. And then we can kind of do all the rest of the manipulation. So with part 3, we've actually got 8. Remember that 8 has a power of 1. So here it's going to look like 8 to the power of 1 times 1/3. X to the power of 6 times 1/3, divided by 3, and notice how the bracket here is just for x to the power of negative 2. So we're going to write this as x to the power of negative 2 times 4. We're not going to put 3 to the power of 1 times 4 because the power of the 4 is only 4 whatever's inside the bracket here, and that's x to the power of negative 2. Okay, once that's the case, we're going to go 8 to the power of 1/3. So once again, making sure that we put 1/3 in a bracket, otherwise you're going to get like an awkward number. So we've got 2, and then we've got x to the power of 6/3, which is also 2, divided by 3x to the power of negative 8. So we've got to simplify this, so we need to actually bring the x to the power of negative 8 to the numerator, and when we do that, we're going to rewrite that as x to the power of positive 8, and once that's done, we can actually say this is 2/3 x to the power of 10. Now grades wise, we're looking at the final answer to be getting a merit. As for achieved, numerator or denominator correct is achieved, so I'm probably looking at something like here. You're getting one of these two things here as achieved. Okay, let me know if there's any questions with that one. If you guys want another question like any of the ones that I've done so far, just give me a yell out, and we can actually try any of those 3 questions. Appreciate the shout there, King Robert. That's pretty cool. Thank you so much. Didn't have to, but thank you. Alton, like you can leave it either, man. They're not stressed too much about it. You can actually have it in you can actually have it in root form, or you could actually have it in power form as well. It's not a major thing. All right, we're ready to move to the next questions, or let me know. I don't know, this is called what? I guess you'd call this simplifying algebraic equations. That's what we'd be calling it. Would you not switch the values? Which values are you talking about, PSV? No, you don't actually take the 3, because remember 3 has a power of 1, and we're not really gonna, it's already got a positive power of 1. And the negative 8 is just for the x. It's not actually there for the rest of the things there. God, 8. Okay, got it. All right, let's go to the next question here. So try this one here, guys, and I'm gonna give you guys maybe a couple of minutes to do this. This is is it a merit question? Find M. No, this is definitely not a merit question. This is actually an excellence question. No, Gio, that only happens if it's the whole fraction that has a negative. Like if you look at it in the previous question, it actually looked like this. Right? So in this case, the only thing that has a negative power is just the x to the power of negative 8. So the only thing we're going to switch is x to the power of negative 8. Now, if this is the same question, and if the question looked like this, so if it looked like this, notice how the negative 8 is for the entire bracket. This is the situation where you actually flip it upside down and you make it positive 8. So that's the two difference there. Backbore, yes, I think it's on Thursday at the moment. No worries, GU. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I can see that you guys are going like all crazy with this question. Now, how do you actually approach this type of question, right? Like, well, actually, no, I don't think you need to do discriminant in this, because discriminant would actually say to you, well, I don't think you can do discriminant. But here's the thing. Someone asked me, do we factorize this? Well, we don't know how to factorize it because we don't actually have the middle term. All right. The only clue that we have is one of the roots is actually 3 times the other, or in other words, it's like saying one of the solution is 3 times the other solution. Yeah, that's pretty much what we're looking at. Now, if you think about it like that, what are we gonna do? If you think about it like this, I'm actually gonna kind of show you guys a couple of things, right? Like I'm gonna show you guys, because I'm trying to explain to you guys this question. It might not make sense if I start doing it straight away. But let's say, for example, if m equals to I don't know, 7, right? Just hypothetically speaking, you would actually put this as x squared plus 7x plus 12. Now we factorize this, right? When we factorize this, we're going to get x plus 4, x plus 3. All right, so our two solutions are -4 and -3. Now if you look at it, we take one of these solutions, and if we multiply it by 3, we actually get -9. But the problem is we don't actually have -9 there, we've got -4. So that's what we're trying to do. We are basically, what they're saying is that the two solutions actually multiply each other to equal well, so that one root is 3 times the other. So let's think about it like this. So that's with 7, but because we don't know what it is, what we can say is let one solution be, I don't know, n. Then the second solution is going to be 3 times n, or 3n. So if that's the case, then we can factorize this equation. We're going to get x minus n times x minus 3n equals to this. Let me know if that doesn't make sense, because if that doesn't make sense, then we're going to have problems with the rest of the way. Why do they have to be minus? That's a great question, because if you think about it, if your factors are x plus 3, I'm just going back to the other example that we did, we've got our solution would be always opposite of that plus 3 and opposite of that plus 4, which is going to be -4. Because when we put -3 into this equation, we're going to get 0, and when we put -4, we're going to get 0. So remember, with the solutions, it's always the opposite from the factor. Like if the factor is positive, then your solution is like negative. You guys would remember that. That's right, Adam. Yeah, we've got to make the bracket equal to 0. Because if I make the bracket equal to 0, so if I do x minus n equals to 0, then I'm going to get x equals to n. And if I do x minus 3n equals to 0, then I'm going to get x is equal to positive 3n. So this is how I know that when I put it in the bracket, it's going to be negative. Are we okay with that? Awesome. Lovely. So now comes the next part. We know that x times x is x squared. We also know that -n multiplied by -3n is going to equal 12. Okay, so if that's the case, then we could actually put down here negative n multiplied by negative 3n equals to 12, because that's the final number, right? The final constant. So now that we've got this, we can rewrite this as 3n squared equals to 12. And then n squared is equal to 12 divided by 3. So n squared equals to 4. When we take square root of 4, we're going to get n is equal to plus or minus 2. What if the equation asks 4 times the other? Do you just change it to x minus n and x minus 3n? No, it's actually asking for 4 times the other. So if it's 4 times the other, we would do x minus 4n. Because in this case, it's 3 times the other. Yeah, that's the one. Cool, guys. We've actually got the n value. Now we need to actually figure out what the m value is. Now, there's two options for n. With n is equal to plus 2, and n is also equal to minus 2. So all we're going to do is we're actually going to substitute those values of n into those two quadratics. So here we're going to get x minus 2, x minus 3 times 2. And as for this situation, we're going to get x minus negative 2 times x minus 3 times negative 2. And so what we really have is x minus 2 times x minus 6. When we expand this quadratic, we're going to get x squared minus 8x plus 12. And on this side, we've got x plus 2. X minus 3 times minus 2 is plus 6. And we expand this quadratic, we're going to get x squared plus 8x plus 12. So we can say that m is equal to minus 8 or plus 8. Got the gold stream. Yes, Ben. So in level 1, they don't really worry about the plus or minus too much. But at level 2, anytime you touch a square root, you've got to put a plus and minus in front of it. Sorry, I should have actually put that as that extra step there. So n is equal to square root of 4. So n is equal to plus or minus 2. Isn't one root just one answer? I think you're thinking about the discriminant there, PSV. If it says that it has one solution, then yes, you're right. Then you only have one answer. But in this case, you actually clearly have two answers. Because it actually says one of the solution is actually 3 times the other solution, which means you're getting two answers. Like, don't get confused with this question with discriminant, because discriminant is actually doing something completely different. All right, what I'm going to do is I'll put up some line numbers, as usual. If you guys have any particular question at a particular line, you can kind of ask me. How do you know when to use a discriminant? How would I reword this question? So, okay, how would I know discriminant? I would actually write this question like this. I would actually say something like, find m if x squared plus mx plus 12 equals 0 has only one solution. Now, in this case, I would actually use the discriminant. But in the original question, it's actually asking you to giving you the solutions and asking you to find the value of m. Yeah, Alton, I think I did a couple of discriminant tutorial videos, man. They're pretty good to kind of go and watch. Or they might ask you something like find m if it has two solutions. Like something like that. And remember, like Reddit is saying, is that like you've got with your discriminants, they usually have like one solution, two solutions, or no solution. Like in this case, they kind of like asking a completely different question. That's all. When are we studying logs? I think when we do the log section of this exam paper, like I gotta be honest, guys. Like I think I'll do. Yeah, there is a bit of logs coming up in section 3 of this question, but it won't be tonight, but it might be like in a couple of weeks time, because I'm gonna ramp up the level 1s after next week. How can a quadratic have no solutions? When it's actually above the x-axis, it has no solutions. Because generally what they say is that like when it actually touches the x-axis once, it has one solution. If it touches the x-axis, then it's two, like at 2 points, there's two solutions. But if it doesn't, then you pretty much say it's got no solutions. All right, guys, we're going to keep going with this. I'm assuming that you guys have no other further questions with this one. By the way, this question back in the day was worth an excellence, I believe. Was it? Yeah, so value of m found is actually excellence. And you got to find both of them. Values of n found is a merit. And once again, you got to find both of them. Relationship shown can get you an achieved, which is somewhere around line 6. Yes, Leo. If the roots are identical, you also do like one solution. Absolutely correct. Now, here's the funniest thing, right? Like, I think who is this? Ben. Ben's like, can we do a discriminant question sometime? Well, my friend, you've got your wish, because the next question is exactly that. There we go. I will put that up for you guys. And see, this question here, you can kind of see straight away. And this is a follow-up question, like from that previous question, right? That you found those two solutions. And then you've got this question here where they tell you the equation has two distinct roots, find the values of n. So we're going to leave that here. I'm going to let you guys have a go on that question for about a few minutes. Nah, discriminant is just b squared minus 4ac PSV. It's only that. It'd be stink if Ben kind of left, because he's like, he asked for a discriminant question and then he disappears. Well, if he's here, I'm sorry. Shouldn't. If it's less than 0, Samia, it's negative. That means you're going to have no roots. If it's greater than 0, then you're going to have 2 roots. Now, you don't need to factorize, Leo. You just need to substitute b squared minus 4ac. 4, 3, 5. Yes, Alton, I think that looks right. This is actually not a bad discriminant question compared to some of the ones that I've done. And I think Surprisingly, again, this is like back in 2014, these questions were like excellence, but nowadays it's like you've got like crazy kind of questions to get excellence with. All right, I'm gonna go through this question here, guys, because I mean, this is not as complex as some of the other ones that we're going to be facing later on, but it's a nice kind of question to kind of kick things off. So I'm going to start doing the grades as well as the same time. Discriminant given is worth and achieved. So if you do, you've got b squared minus 4ac, which is the discriminant. This has two distinct roots, which means discriminant is positive, and we need to substitute it. So we've got negative n squared minus 4 times 3 times 5, and all of this has to be greater than 0. Now if you were to do this, I believe you are already looking at an achieved. Just putting that in there in that discriminant part. Next, what we're going to do is we have n squared minus 60 is greater than 0. Now, a very common mistake people do here is they kind of go n squared is greater than 60, and then they take square root of 60, which is 7.7, something like that. And then what they do is like they put the plus or minus 7.7 like this. All right. Now, this is such a common mistake that people do, because I mean, like, yeah, so basically doing something like this. This is actually incorrect, especially this part here. Now, what I'm going to show you guys is I'm going to show you guys how to do this from this part, because the moment you start working your way like this, the chance of you making a mistake is actually quite high. And a lot of people do that and they end up missing like a really merit grade or an excellence grade. Now, the way I kind of work with this is this. And this will work for all of these types of questions when you have a quadratic less than 0 or greater than 0. So what we're going to do is, we know the square root of 60. We still have to do square root of 60. So we're going to go square root of 60 and tell me what that is. That's 7.7. What I'm going to do is, I know that n squared is a positive parabola. All right, that's what n squared is. Now, I also know that it has 2 points. By the way, I'm not looking at the original graph. I am looking just at this particular graph. N squared minus 60 is greater than 0. All right, so there's no connection with the original equation, which is that 3x squared minus nx plus 5. I am looking just at the n squared minus 60. Now, if I look at just the n squared minus 60, I know that this is negative 7.7 and this is positive 7.7. Now, if you're like, oh man, I can't remember that, just go into graph mode and draw the graph. So you're going to get, instead of n, we're going to use x squared minus 60. Draw it. Obviously you can't actually see it, but we're going to go into view window here and maybe put I don't know, let's just put x minimum as minus 20, maximum as 20. So as you guys can see, there is 2 points that this parabola is actually cutting. So I can click on G-solve and look at intersect. No, not intersect, sorry. Root, there we go. So there's my first one, which is negative 7.7. And there's my second one, which is the 7.7, positive 7.7. Now, if I look at just this parabola, the green parabola I'm looking at, and I want to know when is it above the x-axis. So if I go to the calculator before this point and after this point. So I'm going to take my highlighter and I'm going to put that in blue so you guys can see it. So it's basically before negative 7.7 and after 7.7. Now remember how I told you, like when people do this silly thing where they go n is greater than plus or minus 7.7, and I told you that this was incorrect. The original answer that you're going to get is n is less than negative 7.7, and on the other side you're going to say n is greater than 7.7. Now if you're like not comfortable, super comfortable with like writing greater than or less than signs, I even do it like this. I go 7.7 and like that. So you can basically get these two zones, and that's pretty much the answer for this. And that ends up getting an excellence for this, getting that right zone. Just having a look at the answer schedule. What was it for merit? For merit, it's basically just finding one value of n. So if you find 7.7 and you write it somewhere there, you pretty much are looking at a merit for this question. Now PSV, for these ones you do, like majority of discriminant questions where they have no solutions or two solutions, you're going to be looking at this parabola shape that's going to be like above 0 or less than 0. No stress, ABC. Happy to do it. What does distinct root means? Two roots, basically. Yeah, Leo's on the money there. Leo, identical means it's like only one root. Because if you have like two identical roots, it's the same thing as saying one root. It's just a more, I guess, stupid way of saying one root. Instead of saying one root, they go, oh, two identical roots to try and trick you. William, I think, like, if you have a look at some of my notes in the previous discriminant videos, there's only three situations that can happen. You've got, what do you have? B squared minus 4ac is less than 0, which means you got no solutions. B squared minus 4ac equals to 0, you get one solution. B squared minus 4ac is greater than 0, two solutions. Now this particular thing in the yellow box, you will have to remember. You love your work. Yeah. This is an excellence question, Alton. Yeah, that's correct, Samia. So if it was less than 0, right? Like let's say we're looking with this n squared minus 60 and it's less than 0. What we're going to be doing then is we've got a parabola there. We've still got negative 7.7 and positive 7.7. And because it's less than 0, we're going to be looking at this zone. And the way we would write this answer is negative 7.7 less than x less than positive 7.7, like that. So those are the two variations you're going to get. GU, for one solution you won't actually get a graph at all because it'll just be equal to 0. Keep that in mind, GU, that when you have only one solution you won't have a less than or greater than symbol, so you will only have equals, so you wouldn't need to worry about the graph part at all. Now, by the way, this question does come at level 3 as well as a different one. It's all right, Alton. Like I mean, you've got plenty of time to kind of practice. And I used to do like these tutorials with these quadratics where how to write them. There's a couple of shortcuts that I do. Um, it's if you're struggling to write it as your final answer, there is. I think last year I did a couple of discriminant tutorials where I talked about how to write these really easily. Complex numbers, easy, makes sense to me. Good. Is completing a square basically using... No, Chanel, no. Completing the square is slightly different. I think I found a question in our next session for next session. All right, guys, we're going to be doing our last question. Is there any more questions with C here? Alton, I definitely recommend it. Don't watch the skills one is okay. But I think if you watch the live tutorials, binge the live tutorials playlist, you'll be fine. Especially for algebra. Because I do a lot of basic questions there and then try and build it up. Okay, I'm assuming we're okay with this question. I'm going to go to the next question. Not sure, Reddit. I don't know what your schools are doing. William, I did that on Thursday with my level 3s, and I'll tell you what, I'm still recovering from that. Ben, I'm gonna say the same thing to you as I said to Alton. Like, there is if you go look at my level 2 tutorials, there is I did quite a bit of work with that in the discriminant section. Let me just see if I sorted this out or not, because I know I did sort it out for the level 1s, but I don't think I ever got to level 2s to sort it out. Did I? No. Oh, I think I did. Hang on. So in my webpage under level 2 algebra and live tutorials, I haven't updated it in a while, sorry about it, but if you go to discriminant questions, you're gonna find a lot of these types of questions that we did. Yeah, there's a few questions there, and I actually go through how the zones work and everything. See, I'll show you guys how to do that as well. So just go into any level 2, any of my level 2 algebra tutorials, and find the one that says discriminant. So that'll be algebra tutorials. If you go into full playlist, just got to find the discriminant ones. So see discriminant 1, discriminant 2019 part 1. Pick up any one of those things, and if you watch that, it'll actually go through the full quadratic type of questions there. I'm so lazy. I don't even maintain the website. I kind of come in there every now and then, but I think it's actually in the description of this video somewhere. Is it? Did I put the website? Yeah, there is. So if you go to my website, I've tried and do it, but I almost need to pay somebody to kind of maintain that website. But I mean, you don't need the website, guys, because you can just go straight to the YouTube page and go into level 2 revision material, and you'll find it. Oh, okay. So with this question, I think Reddit already gave a clue there. The clue is you do have to put it as you have to use substitution. Without substitution, it's going to be a bit tricky to do, but you can actually use the graphics calculator for this. But rather than use, I'll show you guys where to use the graphics calculator. Because I know that in some calculators, you could go straight into solver and or equation, Polynomial, see my one doesn't actually have a degree 4, so I can't really do it, but I think yours might. So what we're going to do is rather than y, I'm going to go u, all right? So I'm going to put down u is equal to x squared, which means u squared equals x to the power of 4. Now with that in mind, I'm going to substitute u as x squared and x to the power of 4 as u squared. Yeah, you can do any letter, it doesn't really matter. Pick whatever letter. PSV, I wouldn't want to pick the letter N because apparently it gives you nightmares, so don't pick N, maybe any other of the other 24 letters apart from X. So here we're going to write this as 10u squared minus 13u plus 4 equals to 0. Now at this point what you can do is, this is not level 1, right? Because it's not level 1, you could just use your graphics calculator for this. So I'm going to go into equation, I'm going to go into polynomial, degree 2, and I'm going to punch in these values. So 10 minus 13 and 4. I click on solve, and what I'm getting here is u equals to 0.8 or u equals to 0.5. Now I did see someone with an answer that put it up there that x equals to 4 over 5 or half. I think it was you, Samia. What you needed to do was you actually needed to do, remember what we said with u is actually equal to x squared. So x squared equals 0.8 or x squared equals 0.5. And we need to figure out what x is. So we can say that x is equal to plus or minus square root of 0.8 and x is equal to plus or minus square root of 0.5. So our solutions are going to be square root of 0.8 which is 0.894, and the other solution is going to be square root of 0.5 which is 707. If you don't have a graphics calculator and you want to do this real quickly, then you've got to use the quadratic formula, which is minus b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. A is equal to 10, b is equal to minus 13, c is equal to 4. So William, all you have to do is just substitute those values, and actually you will end up with, eventually you will end up to this here, where u is equal to 0.8 and 0.5. Now, Leo, I mean, like, you can do that with the long way of doing it, but look, when you're doing level 2 algebra, it's all about saving time. You don't want to be sitting there doing something that you know you could use a calculator or a quadratic formula. So, you know, I think it's just important that, like, I do, like, even with level 3 calculus, I tend to use certain parts, I just use the calculator because it just saves time, and it avoids making silly mistakes. I think that's the biggest thing. So yeah, I know what you're talking about, Reddit, because it's like you kind of learn how to pick up these types of questions after you do a lot of them. I guess that's the important thing, that you stay like keep kind of like persevering with those exam papers, and then generally you kind of start picking it up. It's pretty cool to hear. Is it Fextra? I'm not sure. Property law, awesome. That's brilliant. That's awesome to hear. All right, guys. Look, that's pretty much us for today for question 1. The next time we come back, I'll I'll actually do question 2 of this section. So this by the way, this question was actually worth an excellence, and generally substitution question ends up being excellence anyway. And I think they kind of do like all kind of variations, but majority of the time, any kind of these types of substitution questions end up being they end up being excellence. Fairly easy excellence too. Cool. So that is pretty much me done for the night, folks. Sometimes you never realize that how fast time goes when you do like 5 questions. Maybe we did 6. Back in the day, of course, they were giving away these excellences. It was pretty crazy to watch. No worries, guys. You're welcome. Now, I'm not sure what's happening tomorrow. Like, I might be summoned to go to the, what do you call it? Might be able to help out with the mathematics with my school. I don't know. I'm not sure yet. If I don't, then I will probably be back at, I'll be back, but I'll probably be doing, what do you call it? Level 1 MCAT. Alton, I do. I usually put it up on the community page of YouTube or on Instagram. It's just nah, PSV. I wish. I still got my kids. They're year 8s and 9s. They got 9, 10 maths tomorrow, so it's a good bit of fun. But I don't know if I'm gonna make it, but I'll see. Wife is sick at the moment. I'm sure you guys would have heard her coughing in the background. Asvin, it's pretty much like 2 minutes. Once I stop streaming, it goes straight online, and then you can watch it within like a few minutes. Yeah, it's good fun, hey? Year 9 maths. Like, I was doing reflections today with my class. Reflections with like crazy lines. No worries, TKD. That's awesome to hear. Mechatronics, hey, there we go. Good to hear. Yeah, Asvin, it usually is just like really quickly. Within like by 9 o'clock it's up, because the moment I stop streaming, it gets converted. It gets converted into like a file. Nah, you don't need to do anything like that, PSV. Just look after yourself, mate. Look after yourself. I do tell you what, like I don't know if I'm allowed to say it yet, but I've actually been, like, last term I went and visited one of my mates' calculus class in Pakuranga College, and I've been invited to another school next week to go and have a chat with, and I'm excited but nervous as well. But it's kind of weird, kind of talking to kids. I guess it's not weird. I've done it before, but it's pretty cool that I got to go talk to some kids at another school. So and I was talking to one of my mates, and he's like, "Oh man, you should actually let people know that you can actually come and speak to the kids. It's just something that you could do." And I was like, maybe it's not a bad idea. Yeah, it is, Alton. I'm glad you're enjoying it, PSV. That's good to hear. Should I choose calculus or stats? Depends, me. Depends what you prefer. Where you're going. I mean, if you're doing engineering, I'd probably say calc. I mean, anything to do with business, law, I don't know, you can do stats. Stats is quite a nice field. I mean, data science is starting to blow up, so I would encourage you to do both if you can. But if you want to pursue one thing because of your career, pick one that actually works for you. Samia, if you're doing comp sci, I would recommend doing calc. I don't know, Zongzina. I've never actually, like, I've never visited, so I wouldn't actually have any clue. What else? Gotta do photos. All right, last bit of things. All right, guys, look, I'm gonna take off now. Good chatting with you. We will see you at the next stream. Keep an eye on the community channel, or keep an eye on the Instagram. I guess if you are bored, then Sunday my kid and I will be back at Fall Guys, trying to learn how to play that for starters. I still suck at it. But yeah, nah, just come have a chat, and if not, I've actually wanted to do like a massive Stumble Guys, because I know Fall Guys, some people don't have it, but I wouldn't mind doing like a big massive Stumble Guys one. That'll be amazing to watch. No, Bhavya, I don't teach any other subjects. Actually, I stand corrected. I do. But I don't think it's classified as a subject. I mean, I look after our makerspace in my school, and I just do whatever that I can do in that space. So theoretically, I don't think there's a subject like that, but I guess you could call it design, but I don't know. I don't know if you would. Fall Guys was free, yeah. It's on Epic. It's on free. I got it on PS4 and Epic on PC. It's good fun. Yeah. Cool, guys. Till the next time, take care. And last thing before I go, I always say this to people: if you know any folks that are struggling with maths, just send my channel to them. I'm sure you could ease them with some of their stress there. But apart from that, I'll catch you guys later. Have a good one and stay safe.